Hey, what's going on YouTube? Welcome to another Season 8 League of Legends Champion Guide. Today, I'll be covering Jungle Kindred, the Eternal Hunters.
Never one
without the other.
Alright, so let's kick off this Champion Guide by first looking at Kindred's pros. So Kindred is a jungler that does have some fairly strong ganks and also some pretty decent mobility. They're able to slow their enemy, hop towards their target with their Q ability, and pump out all sorts of damage. This makes them a pretty strong duelist as well because they can beat a lot of champions in 1v1s because they do have some pretty good kiting. Kindred is also a champion that scales really well because they do go for a very high damage build and they are extremely fun to play. Kindred has received a bunch of buffs recently, so she has made her way into the meta. Now, although Kindred is a pretty decent champion, they do have their cons as well. The first con would be the fact that they are pretty weak early on in the game. Of course, they do scale well as I previously said, but early on they are definitely not the strongest champion. You will be going for an item build that is kind of like a squishy AD carry, so you will be a very squishy champion. Kindred is also a champion that's fairly hard to master as well. Your passive will take a bunch of time to get used to, as will your ultimate. Finally, this passive can also get you killed. It will be putting you into dangerous places in order to get your stacks to get even stronger, so you have to be very careful. You don't always want to go for these no matter what. For your runes, you want to go for Precision and Sorcery, grabbing Press the Attack as your keystone. This is easily the best keystone on Kindred because you can proc it really quickly and it will add a nice chunk of damage into your burst. You'll then want to follow up by going for Triumph so your takedowns restore missing health and grant you additional gold, and then pick up Alacrity so those takedowns also grant you permanent attack speed. Then, like usual, finish up Precision by getting Coup de Grace so you deal more damage to low health enemies. Now, as for the Sorcery side, you'll want to go for the normal combo of Celerity and Water Walking. This is a really strong combo because Celerity will give you 1.5% extra movement speed and also attack damage based on your movement speed. Then Water Walking will give you movement speed and attack damage as well whenever you are in the river, so these combo really effectively and you will be insanely strong whenever you are fighting in that river. If you weren't a fan of going for Sorcery, you do have the option of going for Domination as well. It is also very strong on Kindred. For your first summoner spell, you'll want to pick up Flash. It is definitely the best summoner spell in the game, and since Kindred is a pretty squishy champion, you can use this over and over again to save your life if you do get caught in bad situations. Of course, if an enemy is running away from you and they are out of range, you can always use this to flash forward and finish off that enemy so they will die. Now, as for the second summoner, obviously since you are jungling, you will be taking Smite. This allows you to get a lot of experience in the jungle and also clear through it effectively, and you will be able to buy your offensive Smite item as well. The red Smite is really strong on Kindred and makes you a much better duelist. Alright, now let's take a look at your abilities, starting with your passive, Mark of Kindred. This allows Lamb and Wolf to mark targets that they are able to hunt. Whenever you get a takedown on one of these champions, you will empower your abilities and gain between 75 and 250 based on the mark's bonus range for your attacks and your abilities. That makes it a really strong passive already because you will be getting stronger and stronger as the game progresses with this passive. Lamb will be able to choose one of the enemy champions, and once they are selected after 8 seconds, they will be able to have that mark collected. That means you have to be very careful when you're marking because you don't want to do it too early and scare off enemies, but you don't want to do it too late either and not be able to collect the mark. Wolf will then start selecting monster camps within the enemy's jungle based on the current marks for 180 seconds. These camps will be marked on the minimap for both teams, so you have to be very careful because the enemy team may set up a trap if you try going for the mark. These will start at easy to get to camps, so you want to try to pick these marks up early on so you do start stacking those and you get stronger and stronger. Next up would be your Q ability, Dance of Arrows. When you activate this ability, Lamb will dash in the target direction, gaining 25% bonus attack speed and also scales with your marks. This will also shoot 3 arrows that target nearby enemies. If you were currently attacking a target, one of these arrows will prioritize that target. Whenever you cast Wolf Frenzy or dash inside that area, you will also reduce the cooldown of this ability, so you can use it rather often as long as you are using your other abilities. Then finally, this ability does reset your auto attack timer, so you will want to auto attack, Q, auto attack to easily get 3 attacks really quickly, and of course proc your Press the Attack. This is definitely one of your strongest abilities because it is one of your main sources of damage outside of course of those autos. Next we have your W ability, Wolf's Frenzy. Passively, as Kindred is moving and attacking, they will get stacks of Hunter's Vigor, and at full stacks, her next basic attack will restore between 32 and 100 based on level health, based on their missing health. This is just a decent part of the ability because you will get a little bit of extra life sustain whenever you are moving around, ganking, and attacking. Now when activated, Wolf dashes to the target location and claims the surrounding area as his territory for 8.5 seconds and separates from Lamb. He will start attacking by himself, but he will of course prioritize Lamb's attack target. These attacks will deal magic damage and scale with 50% of Kindred's bonus attack speed. This damage, however, is based off of your attack damage and also the target's current health and your marks. It'll do a pretty damn significant amount of damage for Kindred, but not as much as your Q, but it does add some nice magic damage into your kit. Next up is your E ability, Mounting Dread. When you activate this ability, Lamb cripples the target unit, slowing them by 50% for 1 second. If you do attack the target 3 times after using this ability, you will send Wolf to the target location and he will pounce them, dealing bonus physical damage, which is capped against monsters. This pounce will critically strike the target for 50% bonus damage against targets below 15% plus 50% critical strike chance of their maximum health. So this ability is great when used in 2 different situations. Now I will try to use it as an execute ability whenever I can because it does as much damage as possible when the target is low, but it's also great when you open up a gank as well to get that slow onto the target to get off the rest of your kit. Therefore, you will want to try to use this ability on the target when they are kinda low and they get off your 3 basic attacks to execute them. If, however, you are against a champion with some decent mobility and they're trying to get away from you, use it for the slow. And that brings us to the ultimate, Lamb's Respite. When activated, Lamb blesses the ground under herself for 4 seconds, and when people are in that area, they cannot be reduced below 10% of their maximum health. After those 4 seconds, the zone ends and people will be healed immediately whenever that occurs. So this here is a pretty damn strong ultimate because it can be used on your backline to save a lot of targets if assassins jump on top of them and try to instantly delete them. This is fantastic on your own backline because none of the squishy targets can be killed, but keep in mind that assassin that jumps onto the backline can also not die whenever in the zone. You do have to be very careful whenever you are using this ultimate because potentially it can just save the enemies and do nothing for your team. For your skill order, you first want to put a point to your ultimate whenever you can at 6, 11, and 16. Then you want to focus on maxing your Q ability as quickly as possible because it is your main source of damage outside of your auto attacks. You'll then want to focus on maxing your W ability second because it has a nice chunk of damage as well, and it is magic damage, so it gives you some really nice extra damage if people are stacking armor. That of course means you have to save your E ability for last, but make sure you take a point early on in it at level 3 so you can slow your targets and have that really nice health damage. Now Kindred only has one main combo, and it is where you use your W and your E after your Q to instantly cast them both at the same time in one animation. So to do this combo, you'll first want to jump towards your target with your Q ability and use both your W and your E at the exact same time to get them both onto the target. This will make you combo quite a bit quicker since you will get them both off in one quick animation. At this point, you'll just be auto-attacking and use your Q ability as much as you can whenever it does come off cooldown. This will of course be based on your cooldown reduction. In the later stages of the game, there will be 2 auto-attacks in between every Q. For my jungle route, I'll start at either the red or the blue buff by getting a leash from my bottom lane, kill that, and then I'll go for a Scuttle Crab. Kindred's first mark target will always be at a Scuttle Crab, so you need to make sure you get there in time in order to contest it and hopefully get that Scuttle. Scuttle Crabs are already a really high priority thing in the jungle and you need to grab it as it is already, but you will also get a mark on top of it, so it is definitely a must grab on Kindred. Either way, once you've got your first buff and your Scuttle Crab, you can either go back into your jungle and start clearing, or of course you can go for a quick gank, especially if you did start with the red buff because you will have that for the nice slow. When ganking on Kindred, you'll first of course want to make sure you mark your target. This is really important to do on Kindred because you will get a stack of your passive if you get a kill on the target, which will make you even stronger. You'll have to time this very carefully though, because if you use it too far away in Fog of War, the enemy will run away from you, but if you use it too late, they may die within the 8 seconds and you will not get the mark. Either way, once you do go for your gank, you want to use your key as a gap closer to get towards the target and of course get some nice damage, and instantly use both your W and your E ability at the same time to slow the target and start pumping out your damage. At this point, all you need to do is start auto-attacking your target, and whenever you can, use your Q. Now, teamfighting on Kindred can be fairly hard this meta because you kind of are an AD carry, which aren't the greatest right now, and there is a lot of bruisers and assassins. Therefore, act like you are an AD carry and stay on your team's backline so you are as safe as possible and deal damage from there. Your ultimate Lamb's Respite can also be a strong teamfighting ability, but it does have the potential to also save your enemies. If you are against some really strong carries or assassins, you'll want to use this on your backline so you and your other squishy champions on your team cannot be killed. However, be very careful because the enemy assassin actually screws up their combo and gets crowd controlled. You would want to delete that target instead. Don't drop your ultimate and have them saved. Now let's look at some of your hard matchups, and first up is Hecarim. Hecarim will be a pretty hard matchup for you because he does do a lot of burst damage and does have the potential to one-shot a Kindred. He is also really strong against her because his charge ability does of course knock people back, which can push people out of Kindred's ultimate and allow him to kill them. Therefore, you'll have to be very careful against a Hecarim, and if you are using your ultimate and you're relying on it, make sure you're near the center so you cannot be knocked out. For the next hard matchup here, I've got Shaco. Now Shaco's a pretty damn hard matchup because you can easily jump on top of the Kindred and one-shot them before they can even react. This of course will completely negate Kindred's ultimate, so she doesn't have too much of a chance against Shaco unless of course Kindred is ahead and Shaco is behind. You'll have to be very careful and try to get some deep wards so you have an idea where Shaco is, because if he gets on top of you unsuspected, he will delete you. For the next hard matchup here, I've got Thalia. Thalia's going to be a hard matchup because she's a very bursty mage, and if she catches you off guard, she will delete you before you can even use your ult. She does also have some pretty decent ranges on her Q ability as well, so generally she will be able to remain at a safe distance while poking you down. She will be fairly frustrating to play against. You want to make sure you get the jump on her, because if she gets the jump on you, she will kite you over and over. And for the last hard matchup here, I've got Wukong. Now playing against him is a lot like playing a Shaco. He can come out of stealth and just completely one-shot you. He won't be able to do this as easily as a Shaco because he doesn't have the longest duration on his stealth, but it still can be pretty damn frustrating. Therefore, you need to be watching your flank and warding around the sides, because if he does get the jump on top of your team, he's also a really strong team fighter and will completely destroy you and your team. Alright, now let's finish this off with the item build, which starts with a Hunter's Machete, refillable potion, and a warding totem. The Hunter's Machete is definitely better over the Talisman because you will be doing mostly single target damage, and the refillable potion is something you can definitely get away with because you won't be taking a ton of damage because you can kite with your Q. For my core items, I first like to pick up the Skirmisher Saber and enchant it with Warrior. You could always go for Blood Razor as well. It's really strong against tanky teams because of the on-hit max health damage, but usually you'll get a lot more out of the Warrior. Then pick up the Black Cleaver because it will give you a nice health pool, attack damage, and 20% cooldown reduction. It of course also shreds armor off the target, which is fantastic because you will be doing mostly physical damage, and you will also get some nice movement speed whenever you attack the target because of the phage component. All around, it's a very solid item. Then you'll want to finish off your core items by getting something with attack speed and crit. Usually I will go for the Runaan's Hurricane. It's really nice because it adds some nice AoE damage, which is great in team fights and of course clearing the jungle. Now in between these core items, of course you have to pick up your boots. My favorite ones for sure are the Berserker Greaves because it will give you some nice attack speed, which of course will pump up your damage. If you needed some defensive options, however, you could go for the Ninja Tabbies or the Merc Treads. Ninja Tabbies will be great against those high AD teams, and Merc Treads will be great against high AP and CC heavy teams. Now for your item pool, you first could get one of the items that has attack speed and crit on it, like a Rapid Fire Cannon or a Phantom Dancer. The Rapid Fire Cannon here is one of my favorite options because it will give you a really nice range on your first attack when you do hit those max stats, which can give you some damage from a really safe range. Now once you have some nice critical strike chance, you could always pick up Infinity Edge. This gives you a really solid amount of attack damage and also makes your critical strikes do a portion of true damage, which is great against tankier targets. Another item that's great against those tanks would be Blade of the Ruined King. This does bonus physical damage on hit, which is of course going to be great on Kindred because you will have some decent attack speed. If you're then looking to be a little bit burstier, you could always get a Storm Razor. This will make your first attack automatically critically strike, which can give you some really nice burst. Then finally, if you want an item with some defensive utility, you could get the Guardian Angel. This will also give you some nice attack damage, which makes it fantastic, but that shield that allows you to come back to life in the later stages of the game is the main reason you would want to pick up this item. For my example full build though, I'll take that Skirmishers enchanted with Warrior, then I'll choose my boots, get the Black Cleaver, Runaan's Hurricane, Infinity Edge, and Guardian Angel. You'll be outputting all sorts of damage with this item build, and you will also have the armor shred from the Black Cleaver so you can get through the tankier targets. We of course have that Guardian Angel at the end because the death timers in the late game are insanely long, so this will allow you to come back to life if you do make a mistake or somebody gets on top of you. And that's all for Kindred. If you guys enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe and visit my video description below. I have a link to all my social medias, and I do also have a Discord server, so that's one you should definitely check out. But other than that, thank you guys a ton for watching. I really do appreciate it, so take it easy, have a good day, and peace.